Hello and welcome back to SpriteGuard Plays HyperRogue. We still have a lot of new content to look at, and it is going to be very difficult for us to access. And so I'm going to try and rush through the beginning part of the game. I am getting to a very late start today. I've just been really kind of distracted, not getting things done nearly as quickly as I would like. And I was up till like 2 in the morning last night playing No Man's Sky. I was very excited about the release. And I'm one of the few people for whom it was exactly the game I expected it to be, and I was completely happy with it. I'm enjoying it so much. If you've been following this channel for a while, you might remember a while back, I covered a game called Noctis. And Noctis is one of my favorite games. It's very old, very kind of blurry. It only runs in 640 by 480 on DOS. It's an old, kind of crappy game, and in it you do basically nothing except fly to different planets and look at them. And I freaking love this game. I'm not exaggerating when I say it's one of my favorites. I don't play it really often because it's so blurry and it's so kind of difficult to play. It has a terrible UI, and it takes a lot of time and effort to get anything out of it, and so I don't play it that often. But it's like the amount that I play it and the amount of joy that I get out of it when I do play it is just incredible. And No Man's Sky is not perfect. There's a lot of problems. It has, there's some really severe performance issues that are actually going to mean that I'm not going to be able to do a proper Let's Play of it. I'm doing kind of a screenshot Let's Play on Tumblr, and I'll probably put a link to that in the description, but aside from the performance issues, one of the problems that it has been having is just that there's too much survival gameplay. A lot of people are saying, oh, it doesn't have enough survival gameplay, but really what it is the survival mechanics are bad. They're not fun, they're not interesting, there's no, really serious decisions you're making. They're just chores that you have to do in order to continue being allowed to play the game. And I think that's something that, if you ever find that in your game, you should remove it immediately. I think that's one of the worst things you can have in a game. And I know that I'm actually in, this sounds to me like something that is like, oh, you're taking such a bold stand. Not really. It seems like one of those things that, everyone would agree with, and you're just ranting to have people agree with you, but no, I've actually had people say things like, oh, well, yeah, of course you have to grind before you get to do the fun stuff, otherwise it wouldn't be a reward. I think that's an exaggeration, but I've had people basically express that sentiment to me. So we have killed one out of the types of trolls that we need to kill. We now need to collect some gold. And we need to make sure that we unlock the Dead Caves so that we can kill a troll there, and the Red Rock Valley, which is why I went for the Desert Spice. And I do want to go quickly because, as I said, I got to a very late start today. It is almost my bedtime right now as I'm recording this. But I do want to be careful enough that I don't end up just throwing away runs, because that will cost me even more time. So, No Man's Sky, the survival mechanics are terrible, they're not fun, and there's too many of them, and people keep saying, oh, this game doesn't have enough gameplay, there's not enough to do, and I'm like, no, there's too much to do! Because it is 99% of the way to being a perfect Noctis clone. It captures everything that was charming about that game, and it improves so many things. It has much better much better user interface, much better generation, much more varied worlds, though Noctis had a lot of variety, a lot more variety than you would expect from such an old game. And so, it's... No Man's Sky stacks up very well next to Noctis. It improves on it in a lot of ways, and it captures what was special about Noctis. But the survival mechanics are really frustrating and really kind of just make the whole thing less fun than it has the potential to be. But a lot of people hate this game because it's perceived as having not enough to do. Because it's kind of seen as, you're just surviving and wandering around and looking at stuff, and people are, all there really is to do is wander around and look at stuff, and most of it looks the same. And one of the things that I remember somebody saying was, the world has Niagara Falls. Well, yeah, there's one Niagara Falls. And kind of bringing things back a little bit more onto topic, this game actually has kind of a similar phenomenon. It's another, largely procedurally generated game with a big exploration component. And occasionally there are big, crazy, awesome things that are really cool. And occasionally there are, really neat challenges that we find, really interesting formations, really interesting tactical situations. But a lot of it is just wandering around in the world. And one of the ideas that I'm very, very certain about and very kind of outspoken about is that procedural generation, the value of procedural generation, has never been as a labor-saving device. It does not stand in for handcrafted content. It cannot stand in. It just doesn't work. It's just not as good by the standards that handcrafted content works by. So what is procedural generation good for? In my opinion, it is really, really good for a lot of what we talk about on this channel. A lot. The whole idea of experiencing the same thing but in slightly different ways. I talk about my love of repetition a lot on this channel. I talk a lot about kind of the joy of the little things. Procedural generation is about pleasant variations on a pleasant theme. So this game, it's always the same. It's always, we're fighting our way through this strange hyperbolic world, and we're doing, the limited finite number of tasks that are available to us in this world. And that's really it. We go on our adventure, we gather treasures, we do some quests, and then we go home. But that is, Joseph Campbell practically made a career on talking about stories that kind of follow the same really simple formula of you go on an adventure and then you go home. Like, that is the root of adventure. And, we're not going on any kind of Campbellian quest where we learn something about ourselves and change the world for the better or not. And, we're not tested and we don't have to give up a part of ourselves. We don't really, well, sometimes we have companions, sometimes we don't. But, I'm not trying to say that this is a Campbellian thing. I'm saying that it is related to Campbellian things. And one of the things that I think procedural generation has its roots in is pulp literature, which is kind of the quintessence of adventures and variations on a theme. Is, Lester Dent in the 1930s published this document basically saying, I think it was in the 30s. He was writing in the 30s. He wrote the Doc Savage novels. And he basically posted this formula and said, I have never failed to sell a story that was written to this formula. And it outlines, basically, almost page for page, what should happen in a story. And he talks about how to add some variations in a very procedural way. Now, I don't think we actually need to gather any treasure from here, so I'm kind of inclined to avoid doing so. But I want to make my way to the exit, and the easiest way to do that is probably through that treasure. So we're going to do that. So that's kind of what I see as being at the roots of procedural generation, is that idea of following rules to create variations on the same thing. So none of these are actually turning out to be exits, which is pretty frustrating. And, you know, we could wait for an earth elemental, we could try and get an orb of digging. We're in a not great situation now. We don't have a lot of good options. And so we're just going to have to keep wandering until we find our way out of here. We do actually need to go into the Land of Storms. If only briefly. And so probably the thing to do is kind of sneak our way around to this icy land. Try and stay nearish to it. There we go. And there's actually a crossroads right here. So we're going to head out, having killed that storm troll. Let's take a look at the overview. So let's see. I don't remember where Trollheim is. So we still need the Red Rock Valley. Let's take a look. So yeah, Red Rock Valley is the only place that we need to go to at this point. So is the Red Rock Valley? I believe it was unlocked. So we should be able to find one if we just kind of go wandering. Orb of the Fish is not very useful to us. So one of the ways that I apply that idea of variations on a theme. Oh my goodness, what is this? I have never seen such a large area in the crossroads. That's kind of cool. I assume, I mean, okay, so this is what I was talking about, like, every once in a while you run into something really cool. And part of why it's really cool is that these things are really rare. And so, you know, we've found this kind of enormous open space in the crossroads that is really cool, and it's like it's staying this big. And now we're kind of back into the normal, into what we expect of there being just lands everywhere and not crammed in around the sides. So that's the kind of thing, you know, it's variations on a theme and then surprises. So here is a Red Rock Valley. Let's see if we can kill a troll without aggroing. Well, there's already a rock snake aggroed, so never mind to that. We'll just have to try and outrun it. And they take a little bit longer to outrun than the usual sandworms, but one thing that will very much help us out is if we drop into an orb of safety. Now, I don't want to wrap it up here. We have been going for a little while, but I do want to actually get into Trollheim, so we should have it unlocked now. Yes, it is unlocked, so let's see if we can find it. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled. And I don't actually know what it looks like. I don't remember the what the floor pattern is like. We have some things chasing after us. So we can outrun them, we can stun them. Is this it? Yes, this is Trollheim. So there are dead trolls all over, and they're actually blocking the entrances. So one thing we can do, we can use some lightning to clear that out. So let's see. Many clans of trolls spend their lives in this kingdom. You can find many statues of trolls here. You suppose that they are not actually statues, but simply elderly trolls who have petrified upon death. Or maybe you have killed these trolls yourself? So, we're in a new land. I don't really know the mechanics here. I don't know... You know, we can't move through the dead troll, we can't attack it. I'm not seeing very much that would indicate what we're supposed to be doing. And I did read most of the spoilers, you know, what was posted on the blog at least. And then I promptly forgot it. And so we're just gonna wander. And hopefully we run into something before too long. Now, I'm wondering, you know, are the troll statues going to look different? You know, what are we collecting? Are we going to be able to tell the difference between what we're collecting? Oh my goodness! Oh, they come in swarms. And it looks like what we're collecting is the golden eggs. So we can deal with these swarms, you know, in one way is just building a wall between us and them. But then we can't get to the eggs that they are protecting. And so, I think it works out a bit like the Hive. It's like a cross between the Hive and the Princess Quest. That's really cool. Let's see, if we kite this guy out to there, and then this guy out to here, we should be able to follow this wall. We can just kite this guy out here. Follow this wall around. Oh dear. Still lots of trolls. So we can follow it around. Oh my goodness. They just keep coming. Let's see. Yeah, that's a fine place to kill you. And then we go around here. That's fine. Continuing to wind our way around this wall. That's good. That didn't actually cause us to lose any progress. Let's see if we can get you kind of out here more. And then you as well. I kind of want to get out here. Oh my goodness, here comes another one. So this is not going to be easy. This is not going to be trivial. I am not sure how we're going to actually accomplish this. Because this is getting so out of hand. We're getting pushed so far off course. And there just doesn't seem to be any end to them. It's like, I don't know if they're finite, the way that hyperbugs are. You know, there's a certain number, I think it's like 44 that spawn. And boy, I don't actually know. Okay, so there's the stash of golden eggs. So it looks like they are finite. And we have actually gotten around them. New achievement, Troll Fighter, collect a golden egg. And looks like we're going to have wild trolls now after us as well. Unless those were some that chased us somewhere, de-aggroed, and then re-aggroed. That's also possible. Now, we have been going for a while, and so I want to think about finding our way back to an orb of safety. We can build out a wall here, try and protect ourselves from these trolls, and they will not be able to pathfind their way to us. So we can kind of go hunting. I don't actually know, you know, how common are other lands. Let's see, there's a desert. I don't know, you know, is a desert better than Trollheim? We can probably make swifter progress, but we have 10 treasures here. And so, you know, things are going to be a little more difficult, and it's not really clear that the desert is going to be any better in terms of land spawns. We will have these sandworms pushing us off course. Maybe the Hive is a better choice. You know, the Hive is very quick to cross, but you get very few other lands. And we can't even get into this Hive, so it's not that big of a deal. We don't really have to make that much of a decision about whether or not we want to go in, though here's another one for us. And so we can deal with these desert men, and now, I remember actually, I believe Trichosohedron I saw mentioning that there are wild hyperbugs roaming around. I have not really encountered one. It might be something that only happens once you have jellies. I don't really know, but we are mainly on the lookout for a crossroads. We're just not seeing one, but Land of Eternal Motion is kind of a good second best. And I realized there was one that we could have gone to earlier, but oh well. Took me a little while to clue into the fact that orbs of safety spawn here. And there's one right there. So, in the next episode, we will try and get the last 3 golden eggs that we need, and then we will have to go back to the Kraken Depths. I learned after I edited and uploaded and produced the last episode that it's not pronounced Kraken. And the Americans that I talked to, my parents, really only know it as Kraken. And so, when I looked up like how to pronounce this word, what I found was Kraken. And so apparently I was pronouncing it in the way that most irritates people who know how to pronounce it. So, which sounds more natural to you? Kraken, Kraken, I don't know. I've been saying it wrong my whole life, so now it is time to change. If you have any input on how you want me to change, then I would love to hear it. Otherwise, Kraken I think sounds a bit more American. I have an American accent. Kraken probably sounds a little bit affected with my, being surrounded by my West Coast accent. So we will be going back to the Kraken Depths, I guess, and we need to finish that area out to unlock the last of the new areas. I don't know how successful we will be, but we've got to try. So, until then, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.